What if there were a place on Earth where life followed its own rules? Where trees grow in impossible shapes? Where landscapes look unfinished? And where most animals exist nowhere else on the planet. This is not science fiction. This is Madagascar. An island shaped by isolation, where evolution was left alone long enough to experiment freely. To understand how this happened, we have to go back to a time when Madagascar was not an island at all. Around 88 million years ago, during the age of dinosaurs, a fragment of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana slowly separated from eastern Africa. There was no sudden catastrophe. Instead, tectonic forces gradually pulled the land apart, opening an expanding ocean between them. Over millions of years, this drifting landmass moved eastward into the Indian Ocean. It would eventually become the island we now know as Madagascar. This separation changed everything. As the island moved farther away, life on Madagascar became isolated. No large land animals could reach it. Predators never arrived. Competing species were cut off completely. A place where evolution unfolded in isolation. While mainland Africa continued to evolve with lions, elephants, and monkeys, Madagascar was left alone, forced to adapt without rivals. In this isolation, evolution followed a different path. Species filled roles that existed nowhere else. Traits that might have failed on other continents succeeded here. Today, more than 90% of Madagascar's wildlife exists nowhere else on Earth. But isolation also created vulnerability. When humans arrived roughly 1,500 to 2,000 years ago, they entered an ecosystem that had never encountered people, fire, or large-scale environmental change. What had taken tens of millions of years to evolve began to disappear in just a few centuries. Western Madagascar is defined by extremes. Rainfall is scarce. Temperatures are high. Survival depends on adaptation. Rising from this dry terrain are the baobab trees, some of the most iconic on Earth. Often described as growing upside down, their swollen trunks store tens of thousands of liters of water, allowing them to survive years of drought. Some baobabs are more than 1,000 years old. They endured while entire forests vanished around them. Once, dense tropical woodland covered this region. Over generations, trees were cleared for farming and fuel. The baobabs survived largely because local communities considered them sacred. Beyond the trees, rivers divide the land. During seasonal rains, they isolate entire regions. In remote areas, crossings still rely on simple wooden ferries, guided by experience rather than technology. Farther inland lies one of the planet's most unusual landscapes, the Tsingy, a vast stone forest formed from ancient limestone eroded into razor-sharp pinnacles over millions of years. Some formations rise more than 70 meters high, creating a jagged maze that is nearly impassable. For centuries, people avoided this place, not because it was hidden, but because it was dangerous. That danger preserved what lived here. The land softens into valleys and open grasslands. At first glance, it seems peaceful. Then the movement begins. Lemurs. They are not monkeys or apes, but a completely separate branch of the primate family tree. Their story is unique to Madagascar. Ring-tailed lemurs bask in the sun, their striped tails raised like signals. For millions of years, they faced few predators. Sifaka lemurs, built to leap between trees, move awkwardly on the ground, hopping sideways in short bursts, a reminder that speed was never essential here. Other species followed different paths. Some specialized in narrow diets. Others conserved energy in an environment where competition was limited. Then there is the eye. With oversized eyes and an elongated finger, it taps tree bark to locate insects hidden beneath the surface. A feeding method found nowhere else among primates. In Malagasy folklore, the eye is often feared, a reflection of how unfamiliar forms inspire superstition. Together, lemurs represent more than 60 million years of independent evolution. More than 100 species exist today, all found only here. Some extinct species were once as large as gorillas. They vanished soon after humans arrived. But lemurs are only part of Madagascar's biological experiment. Nearly half of all chameleon species on Earth live on this island alone. Ranging from giants, nearly half a meter long, to some of the smallest reptiles ever recorded. Their independently rotating eyes allow them to observe two directions at once, scanning for both prey and danger. When they strike, their tongues extend farther than their body length in a fraction of a second. Powered by stored elastic energy rather than muscle alone. Color change, often misunderstood as camouflage, is actually a complex form of communication. Used to signal stress, dominance, or readiness to mate. In isolation, Madagascar turned a simple reptile into one of nature's most precise biological instruments. Madagascar has no lions or leopards. Instead, evolution produced the fossa. Roughly the size of a small cougar, the fossa combines traits of cats and primates. It moves silently through trees, rotates its ankles to descend head first, and hunts lemurs in the canopy. It is rarely seen. Its presence is felt. Across the landscape, human history is marked quietly. Stone tombs blend into the land, honoring ancestors and reflecting a culture shaped by coexistence rather than domination. For Malagasy communities, survival has always meant understanding the land, knowing when to use it and when to leave it untouched. In Madagascar's central highlands, terraced rice fields cascade down hillsides in careful steps. Each terrace is shaped by hand, designed to control water and prevent erosion. Rice is more than food here. It is life. Fields change color with the seasons, green during growth, gold at harvest, reflective mirrors when flooded. Together, they sustain millions. At the heart of the highlands lies Antananarivo, the capital. Built across steep hills, it is home to more than 2 million people. Above the city stands the former royal palace, a reminder of Madagascar's monarchy. Nearby, an unexpected industry exists. In Antananarivo, modern life and tradition exist side by side. Beyond the capital, rural life follows a different rhythm. Villages remain closely tied to the land, where farming is often done by hand and seasons dictate survival. Access to electricity, healthcare, and education can be limited, but community ties are strong. In both city and countryside, resilience is not an idea. It is a way of life, passed quietly from one generation to the next. Along Madagascar's coastline, trade winds shape both land and sea. On sandy shores, giant tortoises move slowly through time. Some alive today hatched more than 150 years ago. Beneath the surface, coral reefs thrive, built grain by grain over centuries. Offshore islands rise like emerald crowns. Each year, these waters become migration routes. Humpback whales travel thousands of kilometers from Antarctic feeding grounds to Madagascar's warm lagoons to breed and give birth. Their songs echo through waters older than civilization. Madagascar is surrounded by more than 4,800 kilometers of coastline, making it one of the largest island nations in the world. Its waters lie at the meeting point of major Indian Ocean currents, creating nutrient-rich environments that support high marine biodiversity. Coral reefs extend along large portions of the coast, particularly in the northwest and southwest, forming some of the most extensive reef systems in the region. Mangrove forests line sheltered bays and river mouths, providing critical habitat for fish, crustaceans, and birds. Several smaller islands around Madagascar were formed by volcanic activity long after the main island separated from Africa. These volcanic islands, including Nosy Be and nearby islets, emerged as lava rose from the ocean floor and cooled upon contact with seawater. Their volcanic soils are rich in minerals, supporting dense vegetation and making them some of the most fertile areas in the region. Steep terrain and limited fresh water kept many of these islands sparsely populated, allowing wildlife to develop with minimal human disturbance. Beneath the surrounding waters, submerged volcanic structures influence currents and marine life distribution, creating localized hotspots of biodiversity. Together, these islands reflect a different chapter of Madagascar's geological history. Shaped not by continental drift, but by fire rising from the sea. Madagascar is not just an island. It is a record of what happens when nature is left alone. Nearly 90 million years ago, it broke away from Africa and drifted into isolation, cut off from the forces shaping the rest of the world. In that isolation, animals evolved without fear, competition, or familiar predators, allowing evolution to experiment freely. Lemurs replaced monkeys, chameleons diversified into hundreds of specialized forms, and predators like the fossa emerged as perfectly adapted hunters in a world without rivals. Many species lost the instinct to flee, surviving instead through balance rather than defense. The land itself reflects this same story. With razor-sharp stone forests rising from ancient seabeds, baobab trees evolving to store vast reserves of water, and volcanic islands forming from fire beneath the ocean. Surrounding waters became part of the system as well, creating coral reefs, mangroves, and migration routes that support life both on land and at sea. For millions of years, these ecosystems remained stable, not because they were protected, but because they were unreachable. When humans finally arrived, they entered a world shaped by patience rather than resistance, and adapted their lives through farming, fishing, and survival guided by nature's limits. Madagascar does not follow the world's rules because it was shaped by separation, fire, water, and evolution working together over immense time, creating one of the most extraordinary natural environments on Earth. An island that does not follow the world's rules, because it was never meant to.